and welcome. My name's Kathy A, and it's about 12 hours after I put my makeup on for the tutorial I'm about to show you. And I just thought I'd let you see what it looks like after 12 hours because everything pretty much stayed intact. Now the lighting's terrible, I apologize for that, but it is nighttime and I did film the original tutorial in the daytime. But the foundation itself did not settle into my wrinkles, and the lipstick hung in there pretty well. I did one touch up with that, and the face product has stayed on so nicely, and the eyeshadow has stayed on fairly well. There's hardly anything that has dissolved over time. But anyway, today I'm going to be doing a special on Smashbox Cosmetics, and Smashbox is a brand that I really like, and after doing the special I like it even more. It's a brand that is in America, and it's got an interesting history. So let's start off with that, and I'm sure you're going to find this one fascinating. So here's the history of Smashbox Cosmetics, and when we come back I will be doing a full face tutorial using the products of Smashbox. The story of Smashbox Cosmetics begins in Russia in 1872. Maximilian Faktorowicz was a Russian immigrant who trained at the tender age of 9 with a wig and cosmetic factory. He soon grew up to be an expert in the field and was the wig and cosmetic consultant for the Russian Grand Opera and also the royal family. Fearing the Jewish persecution that was going on in Russia at the time, in 1904, Maximilian decided to move his young family to America. As often happens in Ellis Island back in the day, the processors were so busy that they wrote names in shorthand, and Maximilian Faktorowicz soon became Max Factor. He moved his family to St. Louis because he wanted to try selling some of his makeup and creams at the 1904 World's Fair, which was held at Forest Park. While there, he happened to see a moving picture, and he thought that the actors and actresses looked very pasty and that his makeup might be able to help them. So he asked for the help from his brother to finance a trip to Hollywood so he could try to pitch working makeup on some of the actors and actresses. He developed a grease paint that was more natural looking under the harsh lights that were needed to film, and he soon became a very popular makeup artist on the sets of all of the movies that were made. He developed a funny contraption called a beauty calibrator, which was designed to show any imperfections or indentations in an actor or actress's face so that the makeup artist could add paste to build it up or dark or light makeup so that it would look good under fluorescent lighting. He became the makeup artist to the stars, and every actress wanted her makeup done by Max Factor. He was considered the father of cosmetic industry. Not only was he developing new products, but he also had a system, a color-coded system of color families, much like a very primitive version of Color Me Beautiful. He developed the bee sting look for Clara Bow, which is her trademark, and the overdrawn lips of Joan Crawford, which is her trademark along with her eyebrows. He decided to release his makeup to the general public because he felt that every woman should be able to make up like a movie star. Advertisements appeared in women's magazines and Movie Time magazines. And his makeup was in a pressed form called pancake makeup. Now, Max Factor died in 1938, but he was heralded as a genius in the makeup industry. He's actually featured in a line from the song Hooray for Hollywood. To be an actor, see Mr. Factor. He'll make your kisser look good. Max Factor is considered to be the father of modern cosmetics. He even invented the word makeup with his son Frank, making a noun out of the verb for making up a face. After Max's death in 1938, various family members took the helm, and they created new and innovative makeup products for the general public, and Max Factor soon became the most popular makeup on the planet. The Pan Stick was a turn-up foundation, which was a lot like the grease paint that was used on stage, and Erase was the first concealer put out in 1954. Moisturizing lipstick was released in 1955, and the Wand mascara was introduced in 1958. Ads became more and more modern, and more women became Max Factor fans. Stands that held the Max Factor makeup turned up everywhere, and it was considered quite hip and groovy. Now, the Max Factor company was sold to Revlon and then resold to Procter & Gamble in the 1990s. Segue to modern times. These two fellas are the great-grandsons of Max Factor. This is Dean Factor, and he is quite an industrious young fellow. They were raised in California, and after high school, Dean went to the American University in New York, where he got a business degree, and then went and got his MBA at the University of Southern California. He met and was engaged to Shannon Doherty. This was his 15 minutes of fame, and it was during her turbulent time when she was sort of out of control. He actually at one point had a restraining order against her. Yes, this is the Shannon Doherty from the Beverly Hills 90210. Dean had a brother named Davis, and Davis was more of the creative type. He was very artistic and very clever. He was always shooting photographs, and he had a wonderful photo studio where he shot models and celebrities and was very good at what he did. Here are some samples of his work. Now, Davis convinced Dean to go into business with him and open an official photo studio and modeling agency they called Smashbox. Smashbox is actually the name, it's kind of a slang term for what a camera is. Dean took the helm as president and CEO, and Davis took the lens, and he shot beautiful celebrity photos, spreads for magazines, for covers, for modeling agencies. And they also wound up having a modeling agency where they rented out models. Here's Johnny Lydon, Johnny Rotten, and Jennifer Love Hewitt. And of course, lots of high-end celebrities such as Kim Kardashian. Davis also got involved in the fashion industry and in the movie and TV industry. Here's Evan Peters from American Horror Story. It was a beautiful model shot. Now, Davis didn't just restrict his photography to still photography. He also directed and produced a couple of films. Granted, they weren't grade A films. One of them was the story of Farrah Fawcett's All of Me, where she did a Playboy spread. And also, Davis thought that, you know what, there's not enough makeup on the set for all of the different artists to use, so that there's some kind of standard so that everybody can take the same type, the same quality to their shoots. And so Smashbox Cosmetics was born. They opened this company in 1996. And they hired several different people to do PR and videos for them and travel around. And they set up Smashbox counters in high-end department stores, Ulta and Sephora. And Davis himself went around and toured. Here he is in Australia, introducing Smashbox. Now, the products are very high-end, and they're very innovative, and there's new products added to the line every year. Smashbox Cosmetics are cruelty-free. They are never tested on animals, and Dean and Davis are both quite proud of that. Who they do test on is actually their own staff. The makeup artists and their personnel that work for them at the company are all the testers for the cosmetics. Now, there was a little bit of a mishap when they went to launch the company in London. At the same time, a terrible news flash came out. Their cousin, Andrew Luster, was caught. He had been using date rape drugs on teen girls, and he had dozens of girls in 3 or 4 different states that he had raped and drugged and video filmed. He was eventually found. He had fled to Mexico, but believe it or not, the bounty hunter found him and brought him back to justice. And in 2003, he was given a 124-year sentence, which apparently was reduced. He gets out in 2028. But it made all of the people in the family look bad, and unfortunately, the British press grabbed hold of it and considered Davis and Dean to be part of the whole scandal. So Smashbox Cosmetics didn't have a very good launch in the UK and was not popular there. Now, in stark contrast, Dean and Davis Factor are very charitable in giving people, and they often loan out the facilities of the Smashbox Studios for large events for charity, for Cedars-Sinai Hospital, for children's charities, for health charities, and also they sponsor a day camp for underprivileged children. Now, they were bought by Estee Lauder, but they do still have control, and they are still at the helm of Smashbox Cosmetics. These are the executives at Estee Lauder. A lot of us PETA folks are not very happy with that. Anyway, their products continue to wow the vloggers and with beauty people alike. Unbelievably high quality makeup. Now, both Dean and Davis Factor are members and collaborators with the Photogenics group. They have magazines, a modeling agency, and a photo studio, which is right up their alley. And of course, Davis is still a photographer, and Dean is happily married, living with his 2 children and wife in Santa Barbara, California. And the 2 brothers are still in business together. Thank you so much, Davis and Dean Factor, for Smashbox.
I guess we all have somebody in our family that's kind of the black sheep. I think, unfortunately, I might be the black sheep in my family. But anyway, I just love, there was so much information about this family. There should be a book. It's a lot like the Maybelline story. There's just so many ins and outs. I mean, Max Factor actually had 3 wives and 6 children between the 3 wives. And the first wife died, the second wife was a messy divorce, and the third wife was with him till he passed away. But the 6 children, then the grandchildren, and then the great-grandchildren, it's just a fascinating story, and it's an American saga. But I love the products here, and I can't wait to show you this tutorial because I used a good combination of things. Now the eye shadows that I'm using are from last year's holiday Wonder Vision series, which I think you can still get on Amazon.com. And it just dawned on me after I finished the tutorial and returned some of the stuff, actually, that is last year's holiday palette, so it might not be available anymore. I'm really sorry. But this one is, and this is the, of course, the Masterclass palette version 3, and this one has the segments here. It also has the face, the nice face charts, and the chart showing you how to do the makeup. So I think it's a really cool alternative. I will also do a tutorial separately not in this video, but in a future one, with the full exposure palette. So I'm all dipsy doodle because it's like late at night and I've had quite a day. So anyway, let's, through the magic of video, go back in time and let me show you how I got a full face of makeup from straight out of the shower.
Okay, here's the whirlwind tour of Smashbox Cosmetics, starting off with the Photo Finish Lid Primer. That's a really nice texture to this, and it's also opaque, so it covers over a lot of ills, discolorations and such, and it's very good over my wrinkly lids. This is the Photo Finish Foundation Primer, and I've heard people say that it's a lot like the Monistat Chafing Gel, but it is not. It has properties in it, I think, that are a little bit pore minimizing, and there's skin conditioners in there that aren't in the other. This is the Studio Skin 15-Hour Hydrating Foundation. I'm shaking it up, putting it on really quick. Now this has a very fast setup time, so you have to work very fast with this. I've speeded this up a little bit, but it actually really requires fast blending. Now I'm trying it with my fingers, and it is actually a teeny bit blotchy and patchy, although it doesn't show up as much on screen. I'm going over it with the brush to buff it in just a little bit more. And because of the lighting, it does look slightly dark on my skin, but it actually looks quite natural in daylight. Putting on a second layer here, just on one half of my face, because I'm going to use something else on the other side. And putting it down my neck, taking it down to the décolleté so it blends better and there's not that little line of demarcation going around the nose. Taking an uncomfortably long time to do this, sorry. Alright, now from the Try It kit, and I gotta show you, it comes in fair, medium, medium dark, and dark. This is the fair one. Comes with a crappy little kabuki brush, a BB cream, a halo powder, another. Okay, now I'm using the brush to buff this BB cream in, and it's going in like a dream. Slightly different color than the other side, but it will buff in and look very nice when it's done. I actually prefer this side to the other side. And you get another Smashbox Photo Ready primer with this. They seem to give those out a lot. You could probably get away with just having the samplers. Now this is the Halo Hydrating Perfecting Powder. It's a nice setting powder. You can also use it with a concealer as a powder foundation. It's seamless. It does not sink into your wrinkles, and it's very nice. I'm just dusting it all over my face. Although it looks like I'm pushing hard, I am not. And I'm kind of blending it in so that both sides sort of look like the same color, which it did help there. It's a very messy process, and I am putting it back into the container there. Now this is the High Definition Concealer, which I absolutely love. Unfortunately, I got a little heavy-handed here on the one side and put the correct amount on the other side, but I keep trying to blend it out and move it to the other side. Doing that Kim Kardashian triangle thing on the center of my face. This blends out really nicely. It's very good for under the eyes. It does not sink into your wrinkles, and it stays all day, and it brings a beautiful lightness to your face. I really like it. I'm just using a little brush to go over some details there around the nose. And just putting a teeny bit of powder over the top of that just to set it. That was the Try It kit, which has all those things in it. It's a pretty good deal. Now this is the Smashbox. This is the Masterclass 3, which has blushes, bronzers, highlighters, and eyeshadows. Has all kinds of cards, and these are face charts where you can put your own makeup ideas on there, so you can keep if you have a good shadow face, you can write them down. Now on one side you have blushes, the other side you have a contour and highlight. These are detachable and you can push them back in. One's a neutral, one's a color. I'm going to use the neutral first. Let's start with the light bronzer here. This is actually the darker bronzer I'm using as a contour. Doing the fish face just below the cheekbone and along the jawline, just to give a little definition and take away one of those double chins. I'm using the center lighter bronzer up on my forehead on the edges just to soften it, and then softening up that darker line, and on either side of my nose a tiny little touch there. Going to move over to the other side because the blushes are there, and I'm going to use two different blushes. The first one is going to be the one on the end. It's kind of a pinky gold and I really like it. It goes on very nicely. It looks very natural. It's a pretty blush. Going into the center, and it actually goes on much darker than it looks in the center there, and I'm actually a little concerned because it's a little too dark. Okay, and there's the highlighter. I'm going to put a little extra on this side because it's a little bit too much blush there. But it adds a little bit of shimmer. I'm putting it just under my brows, just above my brows. And it's very nice. I do like the contours and blushes in this palette. Now this is last year's holiday palette called the Wonder Vision Mega Palette. There are blushes and eyeshadows in that as well. You can still find this on Amazon.com and eBay. I find it's one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes, and I apologize that it was a holiday one. There I am with showing the eye looks. It's an unusual triangle pattern, and there is some fallout with these shadows, but they're very buttery soft and pigmented, so it's kind of to be expected. It's an unusual shape for them to be in, but it's very pretty to work with. I'm just using 3 or 4 of the lighter shades just to see if you can see the subtle nuances between them, which you can't in this light. I finished up with a kind of a shimmery pink one. Now I'm going into a crease color, and it's so pigmented it went on in one go, so I'm using a blender brush to blend that out so it doesn't look quite so harsh. Just blending that with my fingers. Now we're going into slightly lighter crease color. It's more of a transition color. I'm putting just above the crease color. And we're going into that darker brown for the corner edge of last outer third of my eyelid there. I always think that makes a really nice eye look. And I really should have blended that a little bit, but I think I'm putting another shadow on. Yep. Yeah, there I am blending, but not enough. It's early in the morning. Okay, now I'm going into this coppery color and putting it in my color bar area so it transitions the lid. And then going into the light again, right in the inner corners, just for a little extra touch. Going back into that color side, I really like that green, so I'm going to use it to line my eyes. I'm just going to go over that brown with the green, and then go underneath on my lower lash line as well. It's a dark shimmer green. It's really pretty. And I'm going to use the light brown matte powder for my eyebrow powder. You have to think outside the box sometimes. You don't need a product that says it's a brow powder for you to use it as one. And I'd be willing to wager that the brow powders are made out of kind of the same stuff as the eyeshadows. I'm going into the more neutral grayish tone, like a taupey tone. And then I'm using a spoolie to brush it through. And I'm using a very light shimmer peach, just a touch there, just underneath the arch of my brow, and just above with the pale yellow. These are subtle little things that you can sort of see in bright sunlight. Can't quite see them here. Now this is a beautiful kohl liner. The color is called Storm. It's kind of a dark gray, It's a beautiful color that you could use instead of black. I always like to use a dark gray instead of black. I think black is a little bit harsh on somebody with my coloring. I'm just doing a little tight lining there, and I'm wiping off the tip. Whenever I tight line, I always wipe the tip off. And I'm blending a little bit, but again, not enough. I need to blend that upper lid a little bit. Now I am curling my eyes. I'm doing 8 seconds on each side. That is a Tarte eyelash curler. And this is a fairly new mascara from Smashbox called the Full Exposure Mascara. I think you get this when you get the Full Exposure palette. They give you one of these for free. But this came in the Bestsellers Try It kit. And it gives you a nice big honkin' lash. And it lasts throughout the day. I was pretty pleased with this mascara, although I don't like the large brush. It did a pretty good job of making my lashes nice and long without using a primer. And I'm just putting a third coat on. Okay, we're going to move into, this is a short black liner I'm just using over the top of the green just to set everything. After I just said I don't use black. Now this is the Always Sharp lip liner, and this is their lightest shades called Nude Fair. And my lips are very pale, so I got this because I like to have a lip liner that's pretty close to the same color of my lips. And I take it just inside with this. It really helps the color stay on longer. And this is the beautiful lipstick, Be Legendary lipstick. The color is Primrose. And it was really hard to decide on a color. They had several that I thought were beautiful. This is a nice look for work. And we're topping this off with a lip enhancing gloss in Illume. And we're done.
And here is the Smashbox look. I absolutely love this brand. I think that all in all, in almost every category, they have a top-of-the-line item, and I think that there were very few fails here. And the kits that they have like this, they come in fair, medium dark, dark. I like the idea that they have, you know, a try it kit, and that's not just one shade and you just figure you're just looking at texture rather than a color that would actually match you. But I thought this was a fabulous deal. It was like 29 bucks. I mean, the only ridiculous item here was this short kabuki brush, which I didn't find a use for. It just felt very cheap to me. But the items that they had, this halo powder is just a wonderful thing. You could use it alone with a concealer and the halo powder over, and it would look just as nice, really beautiful. The BB cream was fabulous. I really like this a lot, and I'm used to that's on this side of my face. It lasted all day. It was just as nice as the foundation side, and I believe there is a little bit of a price difference between the two. Now the foundation didn't give me enough setup time. I really like to have a little bit of time to play with it, and what I didn't show you is what worked best for me was that if you use a beauty blender with slightly damp beauty blender with this, and tap it on that way, you get an airbrush finish and it lasts all day, and you have a little bit more setup time, is a little bit more merciful there. But in general, I found that it just set up so fast, it dried and absorbed into your skin so quickly that it was very easy to have it look patchy if you didn't work fast. So that was my only real complaint about this foundation. So I wouldn't recommend the foundation. There is another foundation that they have called Halo, which I guess is corresponding with the Halo powder. I may try that down the road and let you know. My biggest, happiest surprise with this was the concealer. I thought that it was a stunning concealer. It's very emollient, very moisturizing. It doesn't sink into your wrinkles, and it gives you that nice light glow in the center of your face, which is really what you're looking for. You're looking for a brightness, and that kind of brightness in the center of your face helps you look healthy and glowing and, dare I say, younger. I don't know. I don't like to use that expression, but I love the concealer. I'm not going to take that back. I also loved the eye primer. I thought that it went on very nicely. It reminded me a lot of MAC's Painterly in color and texture and everything. It just went on so nicely, and if you're a medium to a light-skinned person, this kind of will imitate your skin. So it holds the eyeshadow on all day long. I mean, it just holds it on. And hours later, my eye makeup did not move. It did not bleed. It did not drip. It did not move. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Now another surprise that I found that I really like is the eyeliner pencil. This one is in Smoke, which is a beautiful kind of a dark gray color, and it's just a perfect alternative to wearing a black liner. I think black liners can sometimes, well, they can be a little bit harsh, I think, especially on older faces, because it's such a stark color, and our skin is a little more sallow now, and our eyes are a little different, and with wrinkles and everything else, it actually doesn't look so good to wear a black liner. Now this lip liner was very creamy, it was very pretty on, it held my lipstick from bleeding out into my face, which is really the job of your lip liner. And also too, by painting your whole lip with your lip liner, you've got a good base for your color to go over the top, and it would fade, you know, less quickly. But for the price, I don't think that this was really worth the extra price, because there's so many other products in other lines that are less expensive that do the job. And although it was really creamy and I really like it, I like the color. This was the lightest shade, I believe it's light warm, I think it is. I just don't think it's worth the money. And the lipstick lasted all day. It lasted through a work day with me. I had several cups of coffee. I ate my breakfast. There's a slight staining effect that happens with this lipstick, and it goes on very creamy and smooth. It's not too overdone. This color was really nice. It's a work color. It's nothing that I would wear to a party, I don't think, but it is a, you know, it's a very nice, general, kind of natural looking color. I enjoyed this powder probably a little too much, because it's so much fun to shave off. I guess it's a solid cake that's in there, and then this is like a little shaver, and it shaves off. As you turn the upper wheel, it's a shaver kind of thing, and then you can just put whatever powder on you need. But I found this to be a little messy, this process, just a teeny bit messy, and maybe using a smaller brush might have been a better idea. But all in all, I like just about everything in this line. I think the eyeshadows are fabulous. And I think the Full Exposure palette, which is their next to newest palette that they came out with, they have On the Rocks, they have Double Exposure, and they have Full Exposure. Now, Full Exposure to me has everything you would need for a general all-purpose eye shadow palette. It's like the perfect palette. And then they have a mini version that has kind of maybe half of the shades, a little more than half of the shades. So if you want to try out the Smashbox Full Exposure palette, the mini is a great way to do it, but I, on hindsight, would probably just get the whole full-size one. I think that that's got all the colors you would need. Palettes like this are a lot of fun, although they can be a little clunky and take up some room on your vanity. I like the fact that these are detachable, and they literally just, you know, they pop right back on. Of course, with my glasses I can see where to pop them, but they pop right back on and pop off, and I think that's pretty convenient. However, the blushes are divided up, and if you want to use blushes and your contours, you need both of these anyway. So it was kind of, they really, maybe a third one would have been nice if they'd had a third one that just had the blushes and the contours. I don't know, but I love the eyeshadows in this. I thought that there was a nice combination of colors and assortment of colors. I like matte and shimmer colors, and I think that you can wear any color if you put it in the right place. But I do like the fact that they had neutrals in mattes, and they had nice crease color combinations, so I could use that. They have some beautiful dark shades. I love the dark green. There is a little bit of a satiny look to it, but it makes a great corner color. And I like the dark navy blue as well. I think that's a stunning color on. Most of these color ones are shimmery or satiny, so they should be used sparingly, I think, as far as, you know, in this area of your eye. I think you should always have a matte anyway, but just underneath the brow you could do a teeny bit of one of the lighter colors, or just on the inside of your eyes you can use some of these lighter colors and they'll look really nice. But out of the two, I think I prefer this neutral palette. It's got a nice kind of cool toned crease color. It's got a warm toned crease color. It's got some nice light lid colors and then a nice assortment of dark colors. So on its own even, this particular palette is fabulous because you've got your contour, your bronzer, and your highlighter right there. The blushes are all very usable colors, and I think they're really nice, very glowy. I think I prefer the one I put on this side, which is this color here. And all of these, I believe, are available as solo items, so they're not limited edition by any means. But again, Smashbox has just totally impressed me. I love the brand. I think it's an interesting story. Max Factor is kind of an icon, and I think it's cool that the family has kind of carried on the business. So anyway, I hope everybody has a fabulous weekend and a beautiful day. Take care. Toodles.